He's not a real person?
Who, Condorman?
Yes, Condorman.
No, Russ. Comic book characters aren't real people. Not as a rule, anyway. I mean, Donald Duck, for example. He's not a real duck. Just a drawing.
Interesting.
Okay, we're going now. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode number 249, and our movie this week from 1981 is Condorman. And joining me, because she had seen it and could not believe that I had not, it's Amy Frost. Amy, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I've brought you a lot of
have.
quality material. I brought you Amelie, which is just the best. I brought you Paprika, which is a surrealist nightmare. I brought you Run Fat Boy Run, which is a surprisingly charming film. This is none of those things.
No. No, it is not, but I'm just going to say right up front, while it is none of those things, and I would not classify this as a, quote, good movie, I loved it. I had
Here we go.
So much fun.
It has like a 27 or something on Rotten Tomatoes, but it has like 4.7 stars on iTunes. So I feel like that is a pretty good assessment of this film.
Like, okay, so I want to get into like what I think of this and all that kind of stuff. But first, I want your history with Condorman. When did you first see this? How did you first see this?
This is a great story.
Excellent.
So growing up, I was a musical theater kid. It should be a surprise to literally no one.
Right.
And when you are a musical theater kid, at some point you choose a show that becomes your entire personality. And for me, being in the age group I was in, that musical happened to be Phantom of the Opera.
Fair.
Starring one Michael Crawford. An important part of my adolescence. So then you start to look into other things that he's done.
Sure.
He did a British comedy, which I've never been able to get my hands on, but I haven't tried, in this new internet era, so I could probably find it now. But he was in an old British comedy called Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, in which he was an idiot.
Yes.
And then there was this one, and my friend Sam from high school, he was actually familiar with the movie, and so I had to watch it. And to believe, like, because I'm pretty sure that Phantom of the Opera came out in like 1985, 86, 87, somewhere in that. The wild switch, like, it's not a vast amount of time, and
right.
Oh yeah, wild switch. It just blows me away. So that's how I came to Condorman, and it's just ridiculous. But that's how I got here.
Well,
here we are.
I mean, there are stranger ways, I'm sure, to come to Condorman, but that's a pretty good one.
Sure.
You came to it by way of Michael Crawford, which makes perfect sense. I came to Condorman by way of you bringing it up recently on Those Were the Days, another show that we work on together with a couple of our friends. I don't remember the conversation and how it came up in the first place.
I don't remember how it came up in the first place either, but there's like 8 different avenues it could have taken.
This is also true.
On recent episodes. And it could have just been, hey, here's this dumb thing, and you need to watch it. I
feel like it came about with something to do with Oliver Reed. I feel like Oliver Reed was the catalyst to bring it up. Because somebody mentioned Oliver Reed, and then maybe you had mentioned, like, because the things that people know Oliver Reed from are going to be Gladiator. They're going to be him as Bill Sykes. And I think you mentioned this, and then I was like, wait, Oliver Reed did a movie called Condorman from the early 80s. I need to see this. And so finally, you wore me down, and I said, let's do it.
I think it was a dumber thing than that. Yeah.
I mean, it's entirely possible.
I think it was a dumber connection than that, but...
The conversations on that show go in a lot of different directions, so who knows?
Yeah, they do.
So Condorman, for those who don't know, 1981 film, produced by Disney. This was during their era where they were experimenting with some PG material. They weren't completely divorcing themselves from the family, like the completely wholesome G-rated stuff they were doing, but they were dipping their toes into some different stuff and a few live action things that weren't, that were a little bit different. And it's based off of a book called The Game of X. That was a spy parody in the 60s. It was kind of written in like the heyday of sort of spy stuff. Yeah. And they took that, but then they just like went way out there with it. And I'm telling you, there is something to this movie as a spy spoof that works better than a lot of other spy spoofs I've seen.
It's brave enough to ask, what if James Bond was just an idiot?
Yeah, absolutely.
When I was in high school, we did we had a chorus trip to Disney to perform, which was about 20 minutes out of our 6-day trip, which was great. So we went to Hollywood Studios one day, which is arguably one of the more boring parks, but they had like a vintage shop, and I actually bought an old Condorman press kit.
Wow.
With all the stills and the press release and all of that. It's still somewhere, I'm sure.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
The impressive part about that is considering that this movie bombed like hard.
Yeah.
What I found so the gist of the story, again, for those who haven't seen it, because sadly it's not on Disney Plus. It's available to rent or buy.
No.
But it's not on any of the subscription streaming services anywhere. I watched it on YouTube.
Which, quite frankly, when I brought it up, I was kind of surprised it was even available anywhere. I kind of figured it would have just been lost in rights violation somewhere.
Right. Doesn't it feel like the kind of movie that just sort of like nobody can find anymore? Like it's not on any service, but I guess there's no like the music is all original for it, so there's no music rights they have to get tied up in or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
But so it's not available anywhere. But basically, Michael Crawford plays Woodrow Wilkins, is a cartoonist. He's a comic book writer and drawer, but he's like a method writer, right? Like he won't write something that his kid. I think the line in the movie is, "I can't have Condorman do anything that you can't do in real life because there's kids reading my stuff.
Can't do in real life.
Yes, kids reading my stuff all around the world.
They'll
they trust me. Yeah. So he's in.
That's really sweet.
It is, because there's like a wholesomeness to him, but he's this writer. He's coming up with this character. His best friend Harry works for the CIA in Paris, so he's in Paris working on Condorman when Harry needs to recruit him to be a civilian to drop off some papers to some Russians in Istanbul. Already we've gone well past
trains, Woody.
We've already gone well past the realms of any sort of reality here within like that first sentence.
Oh yeah.
This is very much a park your brain, don't think about it too much type of movie, but I'm fine with that. But
it's from 1981. We don't need we have to let a few things go also that didn't age very well, but that's okay too.
Yes.
It's
but
fine.
Like so Woody goes to Istanbul where he meets his contact, a Russian woman named Natalia, who he immediately is smitten with. And he is now Woody, being who he is all about being the spy. Like when I love when Harry goes to see him at the train platform and he's wearing his trench coat and his hat and sunglasses, doing the Humphrey Bogart thing. And you can just see Harry gets there and he's just like, oh, this guy.
This was a mistake. I don't know how else I'm going to find someone, but this is a mistake.
So when Woody gets to Istanbul, he's going hardcore in the spy thing, which, again, a favorite moment of mine, it just made me laugh out loud, is when he walks into that restaurant and he's looking around and he takes a big drag off the cigarette, right? Because he's got to look cool and smoke. Puffs the smoke out and then tosses the cigarette just over his shoulder and it lands on that plate of rice or whatever the guy's carrying past.
Yeah.
It just perfectly lands in there. I was like, what am I? At that point, I'm only 10 minutes in, and I'm like, what is I don't even know what's happening anymore.
Not, yeah.
And, but yeah, things happen. There's a little action sequence. He gets away, but still gives the papers to Natalia. Now, he's supposed to be a civilian, right? The Russian contacts with the CIA wanted a civilian to drop it off, but he wants to be the spy. So he's calling himself a spy and starts going by the code name of Condorman. That was my favorite part. He's like Condorman.
The best is because she trips him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how she gets his attention. She trips him. And she's like, I believe we have something we can give each other. And he's just such an idiot. He's like, well, yeah. I'm a man, you're a woman, yeah. And I was like, no, stop.
I mean,
reel it in.
But in his defense, a beautiful woman just tripped him. He's all flustered and, he's not thinking straight. But yeah, so he ends up, doing what he does and gives her the papers and leaves and goes back to Paris. She goes back and sees her, I guess, boyfriend-ish character. But
sure.
It's Sergei Krokov, played by Oliver Reed, who...
Oliver Reed.
All right. Number one, Oliver Reed, always a win. The guy just...
Always. He's so good.
Dude never phoned it in, did he? Like...
No.
This was...
Serious as a heart attack in this movie.
As I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I'm so reminded of Michael Caine in Muppet Christmas Carol, where it's like Michael Caine understood the assignment of be Ebenezer Scrooge throughout this movie, regardless of the ridiculousness of having Muppets all around you. And Oliver Reed was like, I'm going hard at this. And he did. He does not smile once in the whole movie. He is just this steely-eyed, intense Russian spy throughout the whole damn thing. And it is, chef's kiss. It's just perfect.
It's so good.
Because what it does is it allows... It's completely unneeded. Like, he doesn't have to do that, right? He could be like a cartoon character of an over-the-top villain, but instead he plays it like he's doing James Bond or he's doing something really, really serious. And it's perfect because Michael Crawford, on the other hand, is just a complete goofball the whole time.
Doofus.
Who, at this stage in his life, Michael Crawford and Roger Daltrey of The Who could have probably passed as brothers. They have that same moppy hair, the same exact teeth. Yeah. Like, that's all I could think of the whole time I'm watching it. But but Krokov is so good. And this movie is kind of a loose plot tying together action set pieces, so it's very much a James Bond movie.
Yeah. I mean, it really is, with gadgets and everything.
It's got the gadgets, it's got car chases, it's got all that. But, one of the James Bond movies came out in 1981. I can't remember which one it was now. I think it's maybe Diamonds Are Forever. It's a Roger Moore one. And it had a budget of somewhere around $28 million, I think is what I looked it up. I just can't remember which of the Roger Moores it was.
For Your Eyes Only.
Okay, For Your Eyes Only. So a Bond film comes out in 1981, Roger Moore, $28 million. This silly little Disney thing has a budget of like $14 million. And it looks as good as some of those early Bond movies. I mean, it honestly does. Like the action.
Because they went places.
Well, so that was one of the things I loved. You could tell. You could absolutely tell. They went to Paris and shot there. They went to Italy. They went to Switzerland. Like, they shot on locations wherever they could.
It made me want to see what else Disney was doing at the time. Like, were you already there filming? Like, did we loosely tie this whole plot together based off of other films?
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I love that. But it had like the look of everything was good. Like the action was good. The sequences looked good. The special effects, some of the blue screen stuff doesn't age that well, but nothing from the early 80s and 70s blue screen aged all that well, really. No. I mean, very little of it.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Again, this could pass, while it's 1981, If you told me, yeah, this came out in 67, because this has as good of effects as like Goldfinger. I mean, they're not any better in that than they are in this. So, you know, it works for me. But also, like, so probably the best action sequence is the car chase in the Alps, or just before the Alps.
Yeah.
Before
the Alps in Yugoslavia.
Yes, it's fantastic. Like, first of all, 5 black Porsches roll into town, and that whole town just shuts down because they hear them coming. I love that.
Shuts down.
Like,
so good.
It's a great trope. Because, like, that's the trope of the
Yeah.
bad guy coming into town, right? Like in a Western.
Yeah.
And I love it. And so they all go inside, and these cars come in, and it's the one dude that has a metal eye, which I can't imagine what the contact lens was like for that back then. That had to have been terrible.
He's my favorite. So it's a French actor, first of all, for no reason. And then my favorite is it's later, like we'll come back to the car chase, but like he's a sniper also apparently, and he's just in the snow, and all I can think of is how cold a stainless steel eye would be in the cold, in that snow at the top of the Alps. What are we doing? The Matterhorn with a stainless steel eye. Hard pass.
Oh, but it was a good look. It was a very good look. It's Jean-Pierre Calfon.
It was a really good look.
Who played Morovich, is the character's name. He was the leader of the oh man, I had it written down, and
yeah.
Damn.
Russian word.
Yeah.
Probably made up.
I mean, most likely, right? Like we're pretty certain that's something that was made up. But he was great. They were great. The car chase is awesome because it starts off with Woody and Natalia. They're on their way out, because this is our second little action sequence and second gadget. Because so after his first mission, he doesn't want to go on another mission. They have to convince him to go on the second mission because Natalia's code name is the Bear, and she wants to defect. But she tells the CIA she will only defect if they send Condorman, because she's convinced, based on what she saw, that he is really good at what he does and very smooth.
Which he does the most. The fight in the bar when he meets Natalia is the most C-3PO nonsense you've ever seen. Like, he just lucks his way through this entire fight. He's saved by a coffee machine. He's not good at it.
No, he's not. But in her eyes, he's like a super spy. So she tells the CIA that, and the CIA, the sound I played at the beginning of the episode is the CIA guy, Russ, Harry's boss, and Harry talking about who Condorman is, because Russ literally left the CIA headquarters to go to some other meeting and told Russ, just get any American, any civilian.
What am I supposed to do? Just ask a tourist if they want to serve their country? Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're getting it now, and just drives away. So they're trying to figure out who Condorman is. So they have to convince Woody to do this, which is great, because the first time around, he's like all about it, and now he doesn't want anything to do with it. But he'll do it.
He has made her into a character.
Yes. Oh, man.
She's now Laser Lady.
Which, I mean, Laser Lady's a little... It's 1981. I'll let it pass.
It's 1981. It's fine. He's an independent comic artist in 1981. He's doing what he can.
That's true. So, but Harry does convince him, so he ends up going back. And when he gets her first in Yugoslavia, they meet in the middle of nowhere. He won't go unless he can do it in his way, right? So he gives the CIA, because the CIA is basically like, all right, fine, we need you for this. This is the most important defection in history, and you'll just have carte blanche. Like, we'll just, whatever you need. And he convinces them to make him gadgets, which, again, another conceit of this movie, but I love it. I love the idea that the CIA is just like, whatever you need. I think Russ says, like, get fabrication on it right away.
Yeah.
So then we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know how long it takes between then and when he actually goes on the mission, but he goes to Yugoslavia, collects her. They're stopped by some Russian agents, one of which, the Russian agent, is Vernon Dobchev, is the actor.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if you didn't recognize him while you were watching the movie, if you've seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, he has an amazing part in that, very small part, as the butler in the castle in Austria. The one that talks about tapestries.
Yeah. Don't you have any tapestries?
He's the butler there. He is
Yeah.
great. I've seen him in episodes of Highlander and Highlander the Raven, being the big Highlander fan I am. I love him. So Vernon
Yeah.
Dobchev. But Woody gets out of that situation with a gadget, and it's the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life, which is because he has the whole Condorman doesn't use guns. It's against my code. I just have my lucky cane, and then it's a machine gun. And let's be real here.
It's really funny.
It's incredibly
really
funny, but realistically, he killed them all with that.
Oh, yeah.
And shot himself.
Himself, Natalia, everyone. Everyone's dead. They all died.
But it's such a great moment because it just starts firing, and he's just firing in all directions with this machine
Everyone
gun
is
cannon.
diving. He winds up on the ground.
But they get out of that, so then they're driving along in their like truck camper thing.
Their Romani caravan.
Yes, we'll go.
That's their disguise.
Yes, they use a different word, but again, 1981.
Yeah, we don't use that word anymore. It's
No.
1981. That's one of two things that we will forgive because 1981.
Yeah. But when they start getting chased by the black Porsches, he hits a button and the seats in the truck drop down, and then his Condor mobile comes flying out of the truck, and it is amazing.
It's so good. It's so good. What I like about this is that his covert spy op, literally everything is yellow.
It's all yellow and red.
I just like I understand that you have branding for your comic, but you couldn't have you can't make up the cut. Like you could just pretend. Like
Yeah, no, you really could.
You don't have to make it look like it.
It's just a name. You don't have to have feathers painted onto everything, which we
You
have.
do actually.
I mean, it's very, very good. But the Condor
It's
car
really good.
was a modified Nova Sterling, which is a
Yeah.
70s kit car. And it's a Volkswagen underneath.
Yeah.
It was just a
Yeah.
kit car that they would take the body of the Volkswagen off, put this thing on. But it looks so cool. Like it's so just
So
swoopy
good.
sports car thing. And it's got all the, he's hitting buttons. At one point he even says like, well, we'll just hit another button on this little touchpad thing that I have. But it's got lasers that come out the back of it. And what I love is the first time he
It's so
shoots.
good because
Oh, go ahead.
like imagine James Bond goes to Q. And you know that part where Q is inevitably showing him all of the things that his gadgets can do? We've
Yes.
skipped that part entirely. We know how none of it works.
Mm-hmm. Right,
We just
exactly.
know how it's theoretically supposed to work on paper, and we're going to trust the process.
Yeah, pretty much.
The movie begins with him almost dying because he's testing out condor wings
Which,
that he designed.
yes, and behind the scenes, Michael Crawford almost died
Yeah.
the first time
Almost died
because
Yeah.
he fell into the river and the current started taking
because
him.
they dumped him in the Seine and then went, oh, it's a little faster than we really thought.
I like the part of the story for that where he was willing to do it again, and the director was like,
Oh,
no,
yeah. No.
like no, we'll get a stuntman to do it. But I also love like the stunt driving in this car chase is so
Yeah.
good
Really
because
good.
the
This
five
is also from the era of exploding cars.
oh boy
Which
was it.
it's my favorite. I love exploding cars and car chases. They're so good.
Well, so number one, it's all it's like 4 Porsche 911s, and then I don't know what model the other one was, but it was definitely a Porsche.
Yeah.
They're all black. They're driving in formation. I love when
Spoilers for days.
oh yeah, oh just huge wing spoilers. But I love when the first he gets the first laser gun out the back, and they all split up perfectly timed, and the lasers shoot right in between them. So
Yep.
then he hits a different button, and it's lasers on either side, and they go right back into a straight line. Which those kind of road tricks are not easy to do at speed. I did so before
Right.
yesterday before watching the movie for the first time. I watched the trailer, And one of those shots is in the trailer, except that in the trailer they use the heat ray sound from War of the Worlds. And so I was expecting that during the movie, and it didn't happen, and I was kind of bummed out.
No.
Just because it's such an iconic
There's
sound.
so many gunshot ricochets, though.
There are.
There's a lot of ricochet gunshot sounds, and that's good.
Mm-hmm. So when neither of the lasers work, eventually he just says, well, let's heat up the situation a little bit, and he has a flamethrower out of the back of the car. Like you do.
Obviously.
So he lights some of the cars on fire, and then the car stunts of driving them off cliffs and the exploding cars was really good. Really good. I loved much of that.
Really good. Yep.
I was all for that. Because they did it there, and then they did it again at the end. We'll talk about too. Again, this is just sort of set piece after set piece with a little story mixed in between, which really doesn't matter. Like it's just there to get us to the next part. But at the end of this car chase, so he explodes the 4 Porsche 911s. They all blow up, including my favorite part. And I think I might have even texted you when this happened. I know I think I texted you about the car, but what I was in reference to was when he's driving down and the other car is coming up at him, and she says, "We need to stop." And he goes, "Stop, that's what they want." And then something comes up over the windshield, and he turns the Condormobile into a ramp. And they drive one car over it into the other one, and both explode. I cackled. I cackled with laughter.
So good.
It was amazing.
So good.
So after he blows the 4 cars up,
stupid.
Yeah, the last one chases him all the way down to a dock when he inflates like pontoons on the side of the car, and it turns into a hovercraft. Turns into a hydrofoil.
As one would. Like it. Yes, obviously.
And then just takes off. And it cuts right to Morovich going back to Krokov, and we just get Oliver Reed saying, "Scenery, give me all of it. I must eat it all. I will chew all this scenery."
Yeah, let me chew it.
And it's I loved it.
It's so good because it's like he's not even a spy.
Nope.
He writes comic books. What are you doing? We're the laughing stock of bad guys everywhere. Are you kidding me?
Oh. And the intensity with which Oliver Reed did his scenes, it's just like, I loved every second of it. And then the next scene we see him in after that is when he's figured out, because now he knows that Woody is, he's not a spy, he's an amateur.
Yeah.
But the next scene, he's figured out that everything that's happening is just out of the Condorman comics. So that kind of gives us a little bit of an idea of how much time was between him accepting the mission and it going, because all of these comics were produced and distributed. But
I think he pulled. So here's the thing, right? Because that's the thing is, I feel like some of them are older issues.
Well, some of them are, because they do mention like one of the other another character or something, I think. But
yeah.
But I like that little detail though. I like Krokov figuring that out.
Yeah.
So that there's a reason for him to be able to just keep track of them and know where they're going at all times, because he's got basically the playbook right there.
Yeah.
And so they track him to the Alps. Meanwhile, when they're in Italy, that's where they go next. Sorry. After Yugoslavia, they end up in Italy. Woody and Natalia.
It's so good.
Woody and Natalia stay the night in a barn or something, but then get arrested the next morning, because that'll happen. So they get arrested.
They're in the paper.
Yeah, that's true. So they get
They're
arrested.
on the front page of the paper for murdering someone in Monte Carlo.
Right. But then they get bailed out by Harry, who shows up in disguise. Great disguise. I loved when Harry shows up with his big pipe.
Clouseau nonsense.
That, and he's driving a little Fiat, and those cars are
so cute.
Quintessentially Italian, and they're so great.
Yeah. So cute.
Yes. So they go to take off in that, and Morovich and his men show up again. So This was the scene where I was like, okay, because they take off, they start running, they're all handcuffed together, which is really funny.
When they get to Italy, though, before we get to this part, when we get to Italy, it is one of my favorite lines in like all of movies, because they land and Natalia's like, "Where are we?" And he's like, "I don't know, somewhere in Italy, I think, but it's fine. We're safe now." She's like, "How can you say that?" And he goes, "Well, it's logic. If we don't know where we are, they can't know where we are either."
I mean,
it's one of my favorite things ever.
He's not.
Unfortunately, it's incorrect.
Yeah, it is incorrect, but his logic is sound. Like, from his perspective, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I did love that.
Yeah.
But as they're trying to get away on foot, they, like, every corner they go around, there's people, and they eventually find this like wedding procession is coming down. So they just get in line with them and go into the church, and the wedding starts happening.
Let's go.
Yeah. And Morovich and his men come into the chapel where the wedding is going on. They spot Woody and Natalia. And so Natalia, thinking on her feet, protests the wedding.
Because she's an actual spy.
Yes.
Like, she's an actual trained spy. She knows what she's doing.
Although at this point, she still thinks that Woody is a spy. She's still under the impression that he is totally good at what he does. But she's thinking on her feet. She protests the wedding.
But she knows what she's doing.
Yes. And then proceeds
This man is already married. Ruin this man's life.
Yes. She proceeds to ruin these people's lives in order to get away, but in the like most amazing way possible.
So good.
And what better way to do it than to get two Italian families to start fighting with each other? Like, it's perfect.
The Nonis.
Oh yes,
just going at each other.
just going at it. And there's like one of the old men's got the Italian hand movements going on as he's yelling at somebody else.
Doing the whole thing.
And they just slip out the side, and they take off.
Yep.
And they head for the Alps, and they head for Switzerland. That's when Krokov says, "No, we know where they're going now. I know exactly where they're going to be." And they end up at this little town, this little like inn before they can cross the border. And this is our moment of like in a different movie, this is where there would be like a rift, right, between Natalia and Woody, because they get there and all the kids are staring at them as they walk into the inn. And they go inside, and Woody immediately falls asleep because he's exhausted, as you would be. Harry goes to take a shower, and Natalia goes out on the balcony and sees all the kids still staring at her. So she's like, well, I got to figure out what this is about. Very Children of the Corn at this point. I'm getting a little creeped out by these.
It's really creepy.
But then she learns that she is Laser Lady in all their comic books. And I have to give the movie a little bit of credit here also. They set up that his comics are world known at the beginning.
Yes.
Him mentioning that makes this scene, I think, work for me even better. Because it'd be one thing if he was just a comic creator and we're kind of given this idea that he doesn't really do. No, his comics are all over the place in this world. So it's perfect. So they don't go the route of making her like super upset about it. They just kind of hand wave it away. Like Harry talks to her because he comes down and finds her outside and he's like, oh, I was worried, somebody took you or whatever. And she starts off upset, like, well, who are you? Because, obviously he's Condorman. I'm Laser Lady. Who are you? And he's like, all right, come on. Let's go for a walk. And and then we just kind of fade out and fade back in and everything's hunky-dory again. He explained the whole situation and she understood, I guess. But I'm glad they didn't.
Like, look, he's just an idiot. We can't stop him. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Pretty much, yeah. And honestly, the movie doesn't need any of that. Like, that forced drama just doesn't need to be there. Yeah. And again, this is a movie aimed at kids. So anything like that's just going to go over their head anyway for the target audience. And it's just going to feel like forced drama for the sake of drama. So forget about it. They're all happy again. They're going to cross the Alps on a chairlift, like a gondola lift, but not in a gondola. They're going to do it just on these little rocket powered,
stick, which is like a very that's a very James Bondy device.
It really, really is. Another way you can tell this movie was aimed at kids is as they're riding those up the mountain, because Krokov and Morovich know where they're going to do this from reading the comics. They're waiting for them at the top of the mountain. Mm-hmm. And you see Morovich with his sniper rifle, and he's told to shoot. And he doesn't shoot Woody.
No.
He shoots.
There's also a lot of diving out of, like, not everybody dives out of an explosion when a vehicle explodes, but there are enough people that you go, no, see, everybody's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
they're all fine. Don't worry, it's fine.
I will say, though, Morovich shoots the rocket-powered, like, lift stick thing that they're riding on, because it's Harry and Woody on the same one, because Harry's afraid of heights. And they shoot it, and they did have the shot of them falling, and it's obviously dummies, but at the same time, I was like...
It's so obviously dummies. It's very good.
Like, it's dummies, but also, man, you showed them fall. Like, that's rough. Because they're going down hard, and they end up perfectly, like, cartoon impressions in the snow, which is another great part of that. And so Krokov takes Natalia to set up that final, the final scenes in Monte Carlo. Yeah, where Woody and Harry show up as the oil baron sheiks. It
was 1981.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was very cringy. I was like, oh, God.
Well, okay, so, yes, it's 1981, so there's a little bit of a past there.
The plot
but also,
part of it is fine.
It's the fact that they're dressed up like that. They're not playing... It's not like Michael Crawford is playing this character throughout the movie as that character. This is him in disguise. So it's a little...
It's still a lot.
It is, but because...
I'm going to hand wave it. It's fine.
It would be...
It is such a James Bond plot, though.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
The house, like, it's the he goes to the casino, he takes the house to get the attention of, I mean, it's straight out of Ocean's 11. Mm-hmm. This is a plot point in Ocean's 11. They take the house until he is invited to the party.
Yeah.
That is exactly what happens in Ocean's 11.
Pretty much, yeah. And then on top of that, like...
It is.
In the vault. Somewhere along the way, Harry was able to rig explosives all through Krokov's...
All through the compound. Yeah.
Compound. I don't know how they were able to do that, but they couldn't. Sure. They couldn't get to Natalia to talk to her, but they could get explosives in and plant them everywhere.
I feel like there were probably already explosives there, and they just had to. Somebody else was trying to blow the place up prior, and they just tapped in. It's fine.
They just had to piggyback.
CIA, don't even worry about it.
They just had to piggyback on the radio frequency.
They couldn't just black bag her.
So yeah, they end up getting her, and Harry takes off to meet at the rendezvous point in a very nice Rolls Royce. But Woody...
Which he tries to get in the wrong side first, which is so good.
It's very good.
But like, Harry...
But Woody and Natalia end up on the, like, balcony of this villa, and there's nowhere for them to go.
Sure.
Until we realize that Woody...
What are we going to do? Fly?
Why... Now that you mention it.
Yeah, Natalia, did you not see his bright yellow boots under his robe when you were running up the stairs? Because they're not subtle. They're so yellow. Oh, God.
And we get Chekhov's wingsuit.
Woody.
We saw the wingsuit that he was working on in the beginning. He got the full version of it, except not only does he have the bright yellow boots and gloves, but he has an airbrushed unitard one-piece jumpsuit. Airbrushed with feathers all over it.
And the hat?
Yes.
And the goggles with the beak?
Yes.
Like, come on, man.
He is full on in this Condorman. And so they fly to safety.
I want Natalia to be on his... Like, Natalia's on his back going, man, I don't know about this anymore. I think I've made the wrong choice.
I may not.
Maybe re-education wouldn't have been so bad after all.
So they fly away under obvious blue screen. which is fine.
Yeah.
You can even, if you really look closely, you can see the wires on a couple of the wide shots.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine.
I didn't
It's
care.
fine.
I didn't care at all.
It's fine.
But
we didn't look for that stuff back then. We just let it go.
Yeah. But they make it away. They land, and then Harry is there at the rendezvous after the car goes into the water, which was a bummer. But they get on their Condor jet boat and take off, which again, very good. Very yellow, very red, but very good.
So
And that is when a bunch of black speedboats chase them, and we get this another chase through the water here. And
just in the water.
It kind of is, except that in this, he gets to use a laser gun on the back of the jet boat to destroy all of the other boats.
All right. So why was he driving if he was just going to have to switch with Harry? Why was he driving? Just sit in the back. You know they're going to follow you. You know they're going to follow you, or you wouldn't have put the gun back there.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Although he does have the line of, I was worried I wouldn't get to use you, or
I
whatever.
Wouldn't get to use this. Yeah.
But his laser gun destroying, and again, exploding boats. Every one of those boats blows up.
A lot of people jumping in the water.
A lot of people jumping in the water.
Yeah, every boat blows up, but a lot of people jump in the water.
And after they destroy all those boats, one more boat comes out. And this one has Morovich and Krokov in it because they, I guess, ran down from the villa and got dressed on the way. They're very quick to get in there.
We were flying an awful long time while they were waiting for
That's true.
Harry
Yeah, there was enough time.
Get there.
And I love when, so Condorman, Woody and Harry and Natalia come around the bend or whatever, and there's the helicopter there waiting for them to hook them up and like lift them out of the water.
Lift them.
But Krokov and Morovich are coming straight at him, and Krokov's like, stop, turn away, because he realizes they're not going to get him.
Back to base.
But Morovich is just too invested in it, so Krokov just jumps out of the boat, and the other dude just gets deked and goes right into the rocks. Like, come on, dude, you saw that coming. But
they don't lift them quickly.
No, no, this is taking a long time, and they don't get them very high, but high enough that the speedboat just shoots right under them. And
it's not going to fail again.
No. But here's where it's family friendly. It's the kind of movie where the good guys get to point and laugh at the bad guy as he pounds his fist.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll get you next time. So.
And they ever, I'll get you next, like, oh boy. They thought this was going to be a whole thing.
This was totally slated to be a big thing, and it bombed so hard.
Oh, no.
And that bums me out a little bit because I get it. Like, I understand why critics didn't like it. It's not a movie for critics.
No, it's not.
It's not good.
It doesn't pretend to be.
But no, it doesn't pretend to be.
It's not good. It's fun as hell, though.
Yes, this movie wears its heart on its sleeve. It's just like, here we are. When you open your movie with a Pink Panther style opening of an animated Condorman flying around Paris, and the first thing
he winds up on the hood, like. That's one of my favorite things. I'd completely forgotten about that because I probably haven't watched this in like a good decade. And I had completely forgotten about the animated opening. And like at one point by the Arc de Triomphe, and he winds up like plastered on the front of a van.
Yep.
And it's just really good.
It's so good. And you got Henry Mancini music.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I loved the music throughout this. Like the music was just again fun.
It's really good.
And that's what this movie was fun. It didn't want to be serious. But the thing that works for me is the earnestness that they made it with. Like Michael Crawford is going ham, but so is Oliver Reed. He's just instead of going over the top, he's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the bad guy. And you cast Oliver Reed, that's what you are expecting to get, and he delivered it.
Right. Yeah.
And like everybody, even James Hampton as Harry understood the assignment. He's the silly side, friend, sidekick type character. but yet he's a CIA guy. Like, and the movie just wears its heart on its sleeve. It's so much fun to watch. And I really think I would love to see this get like an actual HD release. Because I feel like this day and age, there are enough people that would appreciate it. It's never going to be like gangbusters, but it's it's got cult classic written all over it. Because it is so silly, and you can watch it and you can just have a good time. Like, I was laughing so much throughout it for the ridiculousness of everything. The car, the garish colors.
It's so stupid.
The
so
airbrushed
good.
feathers all over his suit were amazing. Like, all of it. And it just goes for it. And you can tell that, like, Michael Crawford is not James Bond, but he's very much that Roger. He is somebody who... Woody is a character who thinks he can be Roger Moore's James Bond and be smooth and be like good at what he does, and he's just not at all. He's not. And Michael Crawford just like does that perfectly. Barbara Carrera as Natalia went on to be a Bond girl 2 years later. She was a Bond girl in Never Say Never Again. So she was great, and it just the look of everything too. I think that's what really sold it for me was you could have this kind of family friendly sort of action piece and you could have all this stuff, but then they went for those stunts and the exploding cars and all that. They didn't cheap out on that stuff. So it looked good when those cars blew up, when those boats were blowing up and all that kind of stuff. Like, they were big gasoline fireball explosions, and it was great stunt work. And I loved every second of that. Disney did because you said you got a press kit for it. Is that what you bought?
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure that's what I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So it had like because back then, right, you didn't have digital press releases,
right?
So it had like the written, like all of the written stuff, and then stills.
Yeah.
Like 5x7 stills or whatever, 8x10s, whatever.
They did some marketing because Baskin Robbins actually had a tie-in flavor called Condorman Crunch when this movie was coming out. Yet somehow we didn't get a toy line, and that to me is a crime. There should be a toy, Condorman car and Condorman jet boat. And a Condorman with that freaking wingsuit, because that thing was amazing. And people have made stuff. There's
there's enough. Yeah. I mean, I think we could bring it back. Like, there's enough like small high quality toy companies now. Like, surely we could get limited edition.
The car alone.
God, I would buy it. Oh,
the car alone is just so amazing. I love like that kit car for that Nova Sterling just looks awesome, and then painting it up that way and having the big red condor on the hood of this yellow car and condor wings along the side of it, like, it's just fantastic. What was the other thing? I mentioned the car. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, the music is great too, and it fits perfectly throughout the whole thing. It's got just that right, because Henry Mancini's got that right amount of like Bondish type music. Pink Panther. Yep, that's another good one in there. So it's super, super fun. I did get some clips from it because there's some very clippable moments in this movie. So we're going to do
good clips.
All right. So setting up this first one. If I didn't know going into it that this was a Disney movie, 2 minutes in would have given it away. Not even 2 minutes in. During the opening song would have given it away because of this sound. They played the goofy ya ha 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 hoo, and I love it. It was so good.
Yep.
And now I have one for my soundboard, which is great, with the French national anthem playing in the background. If you noticed, like you do. The opening shot is great, where he's up on the Eiffel Tower. One thing I liked about that opening shot, though, is again, number one, they filmed in Paris, right? So it's not just a soundstage, and then they comp Paris
really
into the
did
background.
try to drown him in the sun.
But even that opening shot where he goes out, he grabs his walkie-talkie, he goes out and looks over the edge of the Eiffel Tower, and it's that real long shot, and then we get the full zoom in to Harry running over the bridge. It's all in one shot.
Well, it's also cool because you see animated Woody land on the Eiffel Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And then we zoom in and it's real Woody. And that is very clever.
That was clever. That. I loved the shot of Harry coming over the bridge and just pushing in on that. And then you cut to him. He's got that gigantic late 70s, early 80s type walkie-talkie. The thing that, that thing probably weighed 4 pounds. And then it had the foot and a half.
It up on the Eiffel Tower.
Right. It's got like the foot and a half rubber antenna waving on there.
Yeah.
That was great. But all of that was so good. And when everything fails and we just cut to them back at the whatever apartment or whatnot, and Woody's he can't figure out, like, I don't know why it didn't work. It should have worked. And I love Harry handing him the cup of coffee, and he says,
"Drink this and calm down."
I am calm. I am calm.
Through gritted teeth.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
I am calm.
Again, Harry, I didn't talk enough about Harry. Harry's so good. Harry had this line that I just adored.
Woody, you're a great cartoonist, and you're a great comic book writer. But you're a lousy bird.
You're a lousy bird.
My favorite thing is if you go through James Hampton's IMDb, the number of times that he plays a Harry/Harold is like so many.
Was that his
so
thing?
Many.
Wow.
It's just so many random Harrys. I mean, there's other ones too, because he was in just like literally everything.
Yeah.
But there's an uncomfortable number of Harrys.
That's great. But he's a lousy bird.
A lousy bird.
So last episode of this show, I watched 3 Days of the Condor. So it's kind of makes sense to then watch a spoof of spy movies in Condorman. And in Condorman, in the first few minutes, we get...
Not everybody at the agency is Robert Redford.
It's pretty good. I liked it.
It's good.
Within just a couple of years, they're already mentioning that. That's how well established and well known 3 Days of the Condor was at that point already.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one's called. Oh, okay. I mentioned a little bit of this earlier, but this is not Woody. Harry and his boss when Harry goes to work, and then his boss just gets in the car and is like trying to leave as Harry's got his head stuck in the window trying to talk to him still. Or no, it's right before he gets into the car, and he says,
"Civilians, what are the Ruskies worried about? That the Chinese will find out they got spies in Turkey?"
Exactly.
Of course. I mean, and you're just talking about this
actually.
in the open, on the street. Who cares?
It's fine. It's France. They don't speak English. Don't even worry about it.
Fair.
Except everyone in this film speaks English.
Well, they're all Americans.
Just all the time. Yeah. But all the little Italian kids.
Oh yeah, that's true. And the kids in the Alps, right at the Swiss border.
Yep. Yep.
I did like this line. This is from Woody. This is right after the whole fight in the bar restaurant when he first meets Natalia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I had to get so violent. But it was the only language they understood.
As he's just covered. He's covered in like whipped cream and chocolate from the cake.
Whipped cream.
The steamed milk from
with a
the
knife
espresso
stuck in his
machine.
briefcase.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to him. He used that briefcase well.
Really well.
Really well.
Mostly accidentally.
Mostly, yes, but he still used it very well.
Mostly.
He did dodge the one punch, and the guy got steamed to the face. That was great. And he just runs out, covering his face. And I love the shot where Natalia comes up. She sees that guy run out, and then we get in the background, we get Woody coming out from behind with that look of like, is he gone?
Yeah.
And then as soon as he sees her, he kind of straightens up and gets a little tougher again, which is so good.
He's such an idiot.
He really is.
Boys.
I mentioned this one earlier, but I did like it. This is the line about guns. This is when Vernon Dobchev's Russian agent has him at gunpoint, and he tells his little lackey Boris to take their weapons.
You know,
Condorman does not carry a gun. It is against my code.
What?
Guns scare me.
That's the best part. It's against my code. What? Guns scare me.
Guns scare me. The noise. Oh.
And then immediately proceeds to fire.
Just obliterate the mountainside.
When they're driving along in the car later, as they're doing their thing.
What are we gonna do now?
Well, we push another button.
That should have been what clued her in. That this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
That should have been the clue.
Like, there were a couple of red flags before that, but you could kind of overlook them. But when he's just like, we push another button.
Listen.
And they show him push the same sequence of buttons they just showed him press.
Yeah. The befuddlingly charming. It's just, it's so disarming. There's nothing we can do. Hopeless.
It's that smile. I'm telling you, it's
real good.
It's that smile. He's got that charm.
Yeah.
Prognoviach. That's what they were called.
Yeah.
Because I had to get.
Well, send out the Prognoviach.
That I'm gonna use somewhere. I've got I got to use that for something.
Do it.
It's too good.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Well, send out the Prognoviach.
Could be a made up word.
Great.
I don't know. Don't care.
Or we'll press another button. One of the two.
Yep. There's also, because Oliver Reed, that was him yelling. Here's more Oliver Reed yelling.
Escaped.
Just that. So good.
That's it.
That's all you need. And then one more Oliver Reed, because this was the one where I'm like, oh, he knew exactly what he was doing here. It is so good. Is this line?
The best kept secrets of Woodrow Wilkins can be found by any small child for the price of a tiny coin.
So scary.
It's not
this goes back to when we talked about on Those Were the Days, talking about why you would get Boris Karloff for the Grinch. You don't need to go this hard. Why are you doing this?
You're right, you don't, because but Oliver Reed, he's only slightly less scary here than when he was playing Bill Sykes, right?
Yeah.
Because his Bill Sykes is frightening to this day.
Yeah.
But he's like a half a step below that here. Like just that,
Ollie, this is for children. Can you not?
Just that delivery of for the price of a tiny coin. I loved that so much.
Great.
So, and then, I'm sorry. This is the last one with Oliver Reed, which is.
Does the name Condorman mean anything to you?
All right, I lied. That was the other Condorman.
That was the other Condorman.
This was.
Condorman?
Honestly, I'm just going to be playing Oliver Reed sound clips forever now.
Just forever. Let's do it. That's all we need.
Escaped!
Just content.
And then, of course, we've got Condorman, a.k.a.
Vulture of the Western World.
So, Vulture of the Western World.
Condorman?
You know. Yeah.
I'm going to have way too much fun with those.
Well, send out the Prognoviach.
Yeah, you are not responsible with the soundboard.
I am going to be insufferable. I can't help it. It's too good. This movie was way too much fun. I am mad.
Yay.
I am mad that it took me until the age of 42 to see this movie. Because, quite honestly, this movie came out in 1981. I should have seen this by the age of 5. Like, I should have seen this movie in the mid-'80s, and it should have been something that would just, ran in a regular rotation in my house. Because it's just so fun, and it's PG, but it's basically G-rated nearly. Like, there's nothing. It's such an with a couple of.
I mean, in 1981,
small,
we were PG, and for the, don't we have something we can give each other?
Yeah, that's true. But this is the same year that Clash of the Titans came out, and Clash of the Titans was PG, and it had naked people in it. So, like, PG was
Oh, yeah.
broad
Yeah, but it was
ranging.
classical naked people.
I mean, true, but still.
That's art.
But no, I'm just like, that's the only negative I can say really is that I wish I had seen this movie when I was a kid because it's just fun.
Yeah.
But it is definitely one. It's with a couple of minor exceptions. It's an inoffensive movie. Like there's nothing anybody can really get upset at with this. There's one word that gets used a couple times we don't use anymore. But again, it was 1981.
We don't use that word anymore.
We don't use it now. But it's only said twice.
We were not aware. It's fine.
Maybe 3 times, and that's it. And then you could get a little annoyed with the chic getup, the getup that they had, but because they are playing spies in disguise.
Yeah, like they are trying to be in disguise and unrecognizable.
Mm-hmm.
It's still just a little bit cringy.
The thing is,
but it's fine.
But the thing about it is, as a disguise goes, that was really good right up until they started talking. Once they started to speak, you're like, well, okay, they're definitely not.
Well, I mean, this is obviously a British man doing an American accent, doing a Middle Eastern accent. There is nothing. None of this is correct.
We filtered it through a couple of different accents here, but like the look of it, I didn't realize, I did not think at all that it was Woody as that guy when he's coming out of the casino the first time.
Yeah,
like,
when you first see him in the casino, you don't. Yeah,
no idea.
No, you have no idea.
also,
Because you know that Krokov is going to Monte Carlo to meet with some Middle Eastern oil barons.
Right.
So
yeah,
you go,
exactly.
well, obviously, that's just one of them.
But like, the movie didn't have to go so hard with Oliver Reed, and it didn't have to go so hard with the stunt work and the special effects in terms of like the action sequences. But it's what makes it work. It's
absolutely.
It's all of that just makes this so much better than it has any right to be. And it's a shame that it bombed.
Has no right to be so good.
It's a shame that it bombed so hard. Again, I get it. It's not a movie for critics, but this should have, even though I don't want necessarily to see a remake of this, there's been talk of it here and there in the last 20 years of like, Disney might do that. I don't really want that. I kind of want this to live as it is because it's sort of, okay, I can equate this to something like Inspector Gadget, where Inspector Gadget was a cartoon that was made as making fun of spy stuff, right? It was a spoof on all your spy stories. And it worked so great in its time, but then when they tried to make the live action movie in the late 90s, mid to late 90s of Inspector Gadget, that didn't work because the charm of the cartoon was gone. I think if you remake this...
Because now, like, what are you... Like, are you spoofing the spy stuff from back then? Because that feels weird and outdated. But spoofing the spy stuff from now feels less great. Like... What you know?
Well, because of the change,
Spyfall, you're not. What are you gonna do?
Well, and that's just it, right? Like the spy movies, because Austin Powers did the same thing that Condorman did, where it was spoofing these '60s spy movies, but it was very much rooted in that time period.
It was a period piece. Because
so if you remake Condorman today, all it's going to do is be compared to the Austin Powers movies, because anybody who knows of Condorman will not do that. But so few people do remember this movie or weren't alive then and haven't had access to it, so they're just going to equate it to that, and you're not going to win those people over. Like that's just that's an impossible hill to climb. And then you can't spin it forward to current day because all the stuff currently is so much more gritty and realistic, and it doesn't have the ridiculous nature that 60s spy stuff had.
Right. Which is great.
Oh, it's perfect.
I love the ridiculous.
I do too. And that's what makes this work so well, and I think why it doesn't need a remake. Just let it live where it is. Let it be Condorman
And
can
who are
stay
you
in
gonna
1981.
even if you were, who would you like? There's no one that could be as charmingly befuddling as Michael Crawford is in this movie. Like nobody, you can't.
Well, okay, so if you made
You
this
can't.
if you made this movie 10 years, 15 years after it came out, it would have been Hugh Grant. Would have been playing Woody.
Sure. Yeah.
If you made it in the
But
early,
I don't think he would have done it as well because he's less willing to be the fool.
yes.
Have you,
No, that's true.
Especially given his comments about his recent work in Wonka. Oh boy, he's had some words.
Oh my.
Oh.
I think if you made this in the late 90s, I could see he's not as befuddled, but I could see somebody like George Clooney playing that character. He just would have been less.
He's too smooth and handsome.
Well,
He's
okay.
too handsome.
But think about George Clooney in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
No, I am. I do regularly.
Because that's
no, he's just too. No, he's too handsome.
But I think of him as Everett, and yes, he's very handsome, but he can play that like he can do that like I don't know what's going on here thing really, really well. Yes, he is very smooth and he can play that. Obviously, it's like
he's the only one who knows what's going on in that whole movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that could work. I'm not sure. I don't know who would do it today. Like I don't know that there's anybody that could really do that today. I don't know enough. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. But no, just leave it. Leave it where it is. Let Condorman be the unique thing that it is.
Please put out the HD re-release.
Yes.
Please.
That I want. Because unfortunately, the version that I got to see on YouTube is a standard def, but it was also cropped 4:3. And so there were absolutely shots I could tell were supposed to be.
The version on iTunes is also 4:3.
And that's annoying because it's not even a good version cropping it. There were shots where I could tell we were missing like the sides of the frame. And, you know, cinematography-wise.
It's like the VHS.
Yeah. It's like old school.
I have
pan
it on
scan.
DVD, I think. I'll have to go see. I'll have to pull it out and see what it is.
And that's a bummer because there's some great landscape shots, some great vistas of the mountains and all that kind of stuff. Like they went
to all these places.
Yeah. Got to give them credit for doing that and for just going for it. This movie's just fun. Yeah. It's just fun. If you can secure, I guess the DVDs are like all out of print now and they're probably pretty expensive, but for a $4 rental on like YouTube or iTunes, or I think it's even on Amazon, digital services, it's fun to watch. If you have kids and you want to watch like a spy movie with your kids and you don't necessarily, maybe they're a little too young to watch some of the early James Bond stuff, they can watch this, right? Because it has the same feel of a lot of those without the misogyny of the 60s James Bond.
Yeah.
Which I also liked. Because that was another thing I actually appreciated was Natalia's not just a damsel in distress. Like, she gets him out of one situation completely.
No.
She's very competent. She has agency. Like, it's all, the whole story is predicated on her wanting to defect from Krokov and Russia. So,
right.
That's really, I liked that quite a bit. And again, as spoofs go, you can tell whoever wrote this book that they based this movie on, and then the screenwriters for this and people making this, they loved the material that they were parodying. And that goes so far when you're doing that. When you're making a movie or doing a story like this that is, you know, to take a little bit out of and parody something, it should come from a place of like reverence for that material.
Right, of love. Absolutely.
So
absolutely. That's why, you know, Shaun of the Dead and all of those are so good.
Yeah. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, like they love those movies that they're poking fun at because they see the ridiculousness of them, but because that's
what makes them good.
Yeah. It really, really is. It really
Not
is.
everything has to be art.
Well, and not all art has to be, quote, art, right? It can just be silly.
Right.
Like,
right.
there's still
Just be.
There's still an art to all this. I mean, it's the
yeah.
the glory of it, right? There's a campy nature to this. And again, he jumps off the Eiffel Tower in a wingsuit that he made. It's bright yellow. Like pale yellow is not a color a lot of people wear. But he was willing to do it from the get-go. So I appreciate this. This is just a ton of fun. Amy, thank you for making me watch this. I would not have known this existed.
I'll probably choose something more elevated next time, but
look, they can't all
I'll
be
go back
Amelie.
to my normal fare.
You know,
they can't all be Amelie.
The last time you were on, it was Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, with you and Phil, and so it's not always going to be.
Oh yeah, we're gonna work through the rest of those movies.
Yeah, that's true. We do
for sure.
But even if it's not high art, Condorman, a lot of fun. If you can watch it, watch it. Get your kids to watch it. It's a fun little romp. And freaking Oliver Reed, man, I'm telling you, just
well, send out the Proknoviach.
Just do it right now. So you and I do another show called Those Were the Days.
We do.
We've been off for the last couple of weeks, but we're going to be getting back to that. We cover classic television, and our version of classic is basically 2000 and earlier. As long as the show started pre-2000, it's fair game for our show. We've been doing that for over a year now, actually, which is crazy to think of.
Sure have. Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. We do that with our friends Steven and Audie. So definitely check that out. You can check it out when we do record. It's Monday nights, twitch.tv/TV's or not TV's Travis, Two Dorks TV.
No, Two Dorks TV.
Yeah. Or go to just search for Those Were the Days in any of your podcatchers. You can find us there. You have another show, though, that you do that is fantastic. And
I do.
What is that? Where can people find it? And what's going on with it?
So I do a cozy horror fiction podcast called Aquilo. We are currently between seasons. Probably be coming back. I want to say, I don't want to say dates. Well, I'm going to say spring. That seems vague enough. We'll be back in the spring for season 7, 8. I don't even know anymore. We've been doing it for a hot second. Let me see. Oh yeah, we'll be back for season 7. Yeah, season 7 in the spring. So there are 6 seasons and at least 5 special episodes that you can go listen to wherever you get your podcasts, or aquilo.com for that. ACHEWILLOW.
And if you're not already listening to Aquilo, get on it, because it is an amazing show. It's written by our friend JF Dubow and recorded.
The incomparable JF Dubow.
Yes. And
recorded, produced, edited, promoted.
Yes. And it's fantastic. It's cozy horror. I never knew that was a thing until I started listening to Aquilo, but it's perfect description of what Aquilo is.
I mean, the conceit is that because JF is a horror writer, I am a horror ninny, so he wrote horror for me.
Yes,
is how this show started,
and it's so good because it's very.
If you're a ninny,
even if you're not, it's very approachable, is what I like about it, and it's a good. It's also another one that is a good kind of gateway to get younger folks into something like horror, to get them into the themes and the ideas that can be around stuff like that. And just kind of
we don't use any. We try to keep it PG-13. We don't use bad words on purpose, so that if you do have younger listeners that are into scary things, but there's not a lot of adulty content.
I mean, I would put that in the same kind of lane or direction as stuff like we grew up with, the scary stories to tell in the dark. And
exactly,
those kinds of things. Goosebumps. Yeah, stuff that's approachable but still creepy, still got some creepy moments in it. And there's there has yet to be, in the 6 seasons that you two have done, there has yet to be a season where there wasn't a moment that made my jaw drop. So that's impressive to have that consistency. It's really, really good. So definitely check that out. Now,
thank you.
If you like this show and you like listening to me talk about movies, there are 248 other episodes of it you can get. You can find that at tvstravis.com or anywhere you get your podcast as Wait You Haven't Seen with a question mark. And I do record it live Sunday nights, twitch.tv/tvstravis. So you can always come hang out live in the chat while we record it as well. It comes out as a show on Wednesdays, anywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube, as a podcast, a video podcast as well. So a subscription there is great because I'm trying to grow that channel more. 2024 is coming. It's right around the corner, mere as we record this, hours away. And I have some better ideas of stuff to add to that channel as well. So definitely a subscription there is helpful. Also, there's a Patreon, patreon.com/WYHS. For as little as $1 an episode, you can support this show and all of the silly stuff I do, like going to Dragon Con this year and doing a live version of the show at Dragon Con. So that can help make stuff like that happen. Or if you can't do that, just word of mouth and listening to the shows. I appreciate that so much. Next week is going to be a surprise because I don't know what it is yet, but we'll find out. And as soon as I know, you all will know. I'm all over all of the social medias as TV's Travis, whether it's Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter, Twitch, any of those. Amy, where can you be found if anyone wants to follow you?
I can be found everywhere as Daniora, Daniora, or if you go to daniora.com, you can get to all of my socials and projects from there now.
Excellent.
It's a work in progress.
Hey, but it's still there.
Judge it too harshly, but all the links are there.
Excellent. Daniora.com and also tvstravis.com. Check both those sites out. That's where you can find more of what we do, including the show that we do together with Stephen and Audie. Those are the days. So, Amy, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
And
I love coming on this show.
Well, I love having you on the show. And like I said, next week is a TBD. So keep an eye out, an ear out, find out what that is. But until then, remember to enjoy your movies and let's be excellent to each other in 2024.
I think they're gone. We can move now.
I may never move again.